Hello. In today's class, we'll be learning about the graphical user interface and the command line interface. So what is this GUI, the graphical user interface? It basically uses the graphics in form of icon, menus, toolbars, your desktop, windows, which does all work for us. Actually, they facilitate our work on computer. And there is CLI, that is the command line interface, in which you have to type different commands for different function to be performed. So in that, the commands are main and the keyboard is the essential input device to type those different commands. So we will first learn about this CLI so that we can realize the importance of GUI, the graphical user interface, in our life, how important they are. So this CLI, that is command line interface. Now, this CLI is a text-based interface that is used to operate software and operating systems while allowing the user to respond to the visual prompts by typing single commands into the interface and receiving a reply in the same way. So again, you have to type into the visual prompts. So this command line is a user interface as the user operates it, and it is navigated by typing commands in the prompts as opposed to using mouse to perform a command. As in graphical user interface, we do all our work with the help of mouse. Even we have to open a file or open a folder, just a click or double click is sufficient, right? But opposed to that, in this CLI, you have to type command for everything. A command line only uses a keyboard to navigate by entering commands and does not utilize a mouse. So keyboard is the whole and sole input device that is used in this command line interface, and that is kind of logical because this command line interface was used till 1970s and 80s, and at that time mouse was not that much popular. So this keyboard was obviously the whole and sole source of inputs. And the CLI requires unique commands, and you need to memorize dozens of different commands. So you just have to memorize all those bunch of different commands, even to move a file, copy a file, move a folder, copy a folder. You know, there are different commands to move a file and move a folder that way. So you know, for each and every function, to rename a file or rename a folder, there are different commands. So you can estimate there are so many dozens of commands that you have to memorize to work in this CLI. So commands. We will learn some commands so we get to know how to work in this CLI. The best example of this command line interface is MS-DOS. But this MS-DOS operating system, that's not available because you cannot work on both the operating systems simultaneously. So equivalent to that, we have the Windows command line. So we will work on that. And to do that, like in the CLI, you do all your work through the keyboard. So we will open this Windows command line with the help of keyboard only, no use of mouse. Okay. So press on your Windows button. Now go to all programs, enter, then go to accessories. Now go to the run, and in that you have to type CMD and press enter. Here we have our Windows command line prompt. I will increase its size for your benefit. Here. Not this way, it's not possible this way. Now, the first command, here, our first line, that is here, this C denotes the drive in which we are right now, that is users, that is the directory, and office one, that is the subdirectory in which we are right now. So if you want to see which folders and files are there in this office one subdirectory, then we have to type dir, and it will list out the files and folders that are in this particular folder, that is office one. So what this CLI actually does, we have to type this specific function or command, then press enter, then CLI receives the message, then it processes it, and then it gives us the feedback on the same window. Here, these are the folders, and this folder, and this office one has 0 files, there is no files in this folder. Now, to create a new folder, you have to type mkdir and type the name of the folder that you want to create. Like if I want to create like KBC, so then enter. Since we have not got any error message, that means that we have successfully created this KBC folder. But to see that, we can type the dir, and here and KBC is listed in this. So yes, we have successfully created this KBC folder. Now the next command, if you want to get into this KBC, what you have to do is type cd and then KBC, then enter. Now your prompt has changed. Now you are in this KBC folder. So this is how you can work in this command Windows CLI. Now, if you want to move out of KBC and go to the office one, then you have to type that cd dot 2 times dot, then enter. Again, you are back to your office one folder. Now, if I want to go to the C drive, then I'll have to again type c dot dot, and then I'll get to the C drive. But if I want to go directly to this C drive, then what will I do? I will type sleep d and slash, the forward slash, and then enter. Here I am directly at this C drive. If I have used this cd dot dot, then I will first move to this users, then if I again type this cd dot dot, then I will move to the C drive. So this cd slash is kind of shortcut for us, right? Now, again, if I want to enter the users, then I will type the cd users. Here, you must notice that this CLI is not case sensitive, because here I have typed user in second ABCD, all letters, but I am in this users folder, which is not named as like this. So it is not the case sensitive. So even if I have typed this users in the first, in the uppercase, all the letters in uppercase, I would have moved into the same folder. So this is not the case sensitive. Now, as you can see that my window is quite full of text. So if I want to clear it, I will type the CLS, that is for the clear screen. And here, my screen is black. So this is how you can work in this CLI, Windows CLI. Now, we will get to know some facts about this. We know that CLI is kind of boring, you have to memorize all these functions and all that, but still it has its importance. CLI can be a valuable resource and should not be ignored, because if you want to rename 100 files, then what you do in GUI, the graphical user interface, well, you have to rename each and every file yourself, and it will take so much of time, okay, and you will get bored ultimately. But in the CLI, there is only one function which is sufficient to rename those 100 files. So yes, it has its own importance and it should not be ignored, like I said. This CLI allows users to perform tasks by entering commands and its working mechanism is easy, but it is not user friendly, because if you make an error on our part as a user, there is quite difficult to rectify it. It takes so much of time. It does not facilitate us. The CLI does not facilitate us. That's why it is not user friendly. And there is another disadvantage that you have to enter those commands one by one. There is one function that is done, and then after you can do the second function. So you cannot do the multitasking, which is possible in graphical user interface. You can open so many windows at once. On one window, you can type your text or doing something, and on other hand, simultaneously there might be some file which are being copied to your pen drive or something. So these functions can run simultaneously in graphical user interface, but that is not possible in CLI. So that is kind of limitation, not exactly a drawback. And like I said, the best example, that is MS-DOS. That is Microsoft Disk Operating System. Now, I think that is sufficient for the CLI. Now, we will learn about the graphical user interface. Like I said, this graphical user interface uses basically the graphics in its interface. And it was first developed by Mr. Douglas Engelbart at the Stanford Research Institute, and then it was later developed by Mr. Alan Kay at the Xerox PARC, and he went beyond the text-based hyperlinks and used GUI as a primary interface. So there were Mr. Engelbart and Mr. Kay, who did this great job of providing us with the GUI. And this Engelbart worked at the Stanford Research Institute, and this one worked at the Xerox PARC. And then later there was Apple. It was Apple which introduced the Apple Lisa. Apple Lisa is a computer which used the graphical user interface as its primary interface, and it was commercially launched available on January 1983. So it was available for public. Okay, so we can say that this UI was pioneered and developed by Mr. Engelbart and Mr. Kay, and it was commercialized by this Apple. And today we have most of all latest computers and operating system in this GUI interface. Okay, almost all. And so what is this GUI? GUI uses windows, icons and menus and so many other things like toolbar, desktop to carry out commands such as opening files, deleting files, moving files, and there are endless list of the functions that we do on computer. Obviously, it uses mouse, keyboard shortcuts, arrow keys, the keyboard itself, okay, to carry out its functions. And not only this, there are so many other input and output devices that are available like joysticks, scratchpad, and so many other. And it is much more easier for end users. End users are us who use these functions, who use this graphical user interface ultimately. So you can say that it is user friendly because this graphical user interface makes an effort to minimize errors on our part, so that even if we make error, we can rectify it easily. Everything is available in front of your eyes on this screen, on this monitor screen. So there are so many less chances to make the errors. So that's why it is user friendly. It facilitates the users. It minimize the workload of the user. You don't have to memorize that bunch of functions and all that. Now, the operating systems which uses this graphical user interface. Operating system uses this GUI, and those are like I said, Windows, Microsoft Windows and Mac OS, and the graphical user interface that is used nowadays, that is GNOME. This are very famous one, and KDE. Okay. And now, the important component is the essentials of this graphical user interface which makes it what it is today. So, the components. The first one is the pointer. So right now my pointer is converted into this brush, so I can write. So even if you are editing your text, it is converted into your, this kind of link. Okay. So you can know where you are exactly in the text. So that is how this pointer always shows where we are. It does all our work literally. And there is the second one, that is the pointing device. The pointing device can be your mouse, your touchpad on the laptop. There are scratch pads, and on scratch pads the digital pen, it can be a pointing device. There are so many pointing devices available, and these pointing devices and pointer are kind of inseparable identities. One's existence is not possible without the other. So this two actually literally does all of our work, whatever that we are showing. And today, due to mouse, everything, each and every function, easier or the complex one, it is just a matter of click or the double click. Now, the third one, the third component is the icons. Let me show you. Here in this, there are so many different icons for documents, music, pictures, library. These small pictures are representatives of the commands, files and windows. It actually shows what is in it. Like this pictures, it has the kind of picture kind of icon. It shows the pictures in it. So that way, these icons made our life so much easier, as it itself denotes what is in it today. The next component, that is the desktop. Let me show you the desktop too. Here, this is our desktop, and it is where the icons are grouped and intended to represent the real objects. These icons represent what is in it, a kind of real, like this folder, office, it will show what is in it today with other folders. So that is how this desktop is kind of doorway or a gate to this computer system. Okay, it is entrance and welcome gate, and it also has this taskbar which has so many shortcuts of different applications. There is start menu, that is also miniature of this whole computer system, and there are other icons on this side too. These are the ones. So this is how desktop is again an important component in this graphical user interface. And the last one, but not the least, that is Windows. Right now we are in the Paint window in which we are working. There are other applications window too, like this is the Word window. There is PowerPoint window too. There is Google Chrome window. there is this folders window, so many windows at once. This is again important facility of GUI, that you can open so many windows at once, you can work on them simultaneously. So, and here on this windows there is minimize button, maximize button and close button. If you maximize it, it will fit to your screen size. If you again select those button to restore down, it will again move back to its original size. This is minimize button which will store it into on this taskbar. So this is how these windows are much more useful. Now, there is another thing about this graphical user interface, that you can move data from one application to another application. Here, like in this, I will insert a smart art graphic in this, that is this. Here, if I want to copy this graphic to the PowerPoint, it can be done easily, right? So Control C and Control V. Here it is done the same way. So this is another facility of GUI. And a true GUI includes standard formats for representing text and graphics. Like here in this Microsoft Office, that is the latest version, this Word icon is same. Even if you see the 2003 MS Office, that icon is going to be same. So the user who uses the newer versions that are launched again and again year by year, so he would not need to learn the newer versions from starting from the scratch. There are just a few updates, but there are no changes in the basics, the basic graphics and the text. The basic things are there, and that only. Same thing goes for the paint too. In the older version, this toolbars were placed here, that way, vertically. Right now it is horizontally, but in the older version it was vertically, right? But these toolbars are just the same. All the works that they do are same. There are few new things, but still the basic graphics and text and other things are going to remain the same. And that is the thing that what makes a GUI a true in itself. Now, there is only a kind of limitation of this graphical user interface, that is, it requires a considerable CPU power and a high quality monitor. So that is the reason that in back 70s and 80s, the people actually slowly adopted this graphical user interface, as it required much more higher technology than what was used in those days. People could not afford this graphical user interface, high quality monitor and much CPU power. It is nowadays very easier for us to afford this, so that's why we use GUI, and that is how we are used to. So I guess that's it for this today's class. We have learned about this GUI and CLI. Of course, these both are important. Most of the operating system uses the GUI, but there are some operating system which uses CLI too, and there is the Unix operating system which uses both GUI and CLI. So, thank you.